Humphries.
Good afternoon and welcome to the sun-drenched Monaco harbour. For the past 82 years, cars have been blasting around this place, and despite the fact that over the years, the machines, the drivers, even the track has changed, one thing remains the same. Taking the checkered flag in Monaco is about more than just winning a race.
Good afternoon from Monte Carlo in glorious weather.
It is something special to race here. You know, it's tight, no room for error.
The circuit is surrounded by walls, houses, lampposts, telegraph poles, barriers, the sea, and nightclubs.
Monaco, baby, yeah!
In this race, you don't get any more points than any other race, but it's one you definitely have to win.
I just love driving the car here. It's just the coolest thing.
This is one of the most demanding circuits of certainly of its type in the world.
The history has a huge part. So many amazing things have happened here in the past. I think we've had some phenomenal fights here with legend drivers.
Ayrton Senna wins at Monaco.
Monaco's always been the place of glamour. All the pretty girls come over from Italy.
It's one that you'll look back at and smile every time you think of winning the Monaco Grand Prix.
And can you see us somewhere in this very busy harbour? It's amazing, actually, with less than an hour to go before qualifying, just how many boats are zipping around. And I suppose you could choose to watch the action this weekend from one of the super yachts, maybe a multi-million-pound apartment, or who knows, perhaps a €20,000 a night hotel suite. I'm sure some people in Monaco would go for all three. Not looking at you two. David Coulthard, Eddie Jordan alongside me. There are many places you can watch the racing from here, David, but I think you'd probably agree the cockpit is the most exciting of all. Where does 2 Monaco wins rank in your CV?
Right at the top, unquestionably, because the concentration that's required to keep off the barriers for what is one of the longest dry races you'll do. It'll be close to 1 hour and 45 minutes, and it's just relentless, and there's no room for error on this track.
And this is a weekend of relaxing and being with your friends on boats, Eddie. What kind of weekend was it, though, in 1991, when you first came here, having scraped and scrapped for every penny in motor racing, to suddenly be an F1 team boss in Monte Carlo?
Well, the first thing you had to do was pinch yourself, because you didn't realise that this was actually ever going to happen. You dream about it, you think about it, but then you're here. Everything about the place pales into insignificance because you're only concentrated on the race, and nothing else happens until the end of qualifying or the end of the race. Then you can start thinking about other things.
And if you're wondering where we are, we haven't downgraded ourselves too much this year. We're actually heading to our new home for this race weekend. It's just behind those yachts over there. You'll see exactly where we're going to be in just a few moments. But plenty to come between now and the start of qualifying, which starts on the hour. But they say there are 2 types of people here in Monaco: those who like to stare and those who like to be stared at. And sometimes you just get the impression the racing is getting in the way of their fun.
The party don't start till I walk in. Don't stop, make it pop, DJ blow my speakers up tonight. I'ma fight till we see the sunlight. Tick tock on the clock, but the party don't stop, no.
Well, I'm sure the people on the yachts all around us are looking at us thinking, mine's bigger than yours, but I think we'll cope, don't you? Let's have a quick look at the calendar, Eddie, for the rest of this season. And the next 3 races represent a real opportunity for the teams around Red Bull, don't they?
Well, you say that, and the reason why people are hoping that that's the case is because they are effectively street circuits. Very high downforce, and that, we believe, is where the big advantage with Red Bull. In other words, they could get away with going around fast corners, fast tracks. They love that. So this is a disappointment for them.
Sure. As far as the standings are concerned, David, Fernando Alonso, if Sebastian Vettel doesn't score any points in the next 3 races, would need 2 wins and a 2nd place just to get up there. How soon until these guys are going to write off their opportunity to win the title this year?
Well, if you remember last year, Fernando Alonso stated just before the British Grand Prix that he was going to win the World Championship. And at that point, he was more than 2 victories behind Sebastian Vettel. And come the last race in Abu Dhabi, he could have won it. So I don't think they write it off at all. You know, they drive these cars as fast as they possibly can until the checker flag falls at the end of the season. OK, Ferrari looking fast as well. We'll hear from Felipe Massa later in the programme, and Fernando Alonso will be hoping for a better Saturday than he had here last year, where he crashed in free practice on the Saturday morning. And as far as the Constructors' Championship is concerned, well, you can see there that Ferrari, talking of Ferrari, are a whopping 110 points behind Red Bull at the moment. So as you can see, the teams need to start catching Red Bull, and they need to catch them very quickly. And how apt that we've actually caught our home for the weekend. We've finally arrived, so off we go. Good luck to the both of you. Well played. Now, normally, when we're at a Formula 1 race, we're near the motorhomes. However, this weekend, this is called a floater home. And the reason that this exists is because the paddock is so tight here in the Principality that they have to come out onto the water. 800 tonnes, 600 guests a day. It's all very expensive, but it's all great fun. Eddie, in years gone by, this is where all the business was done in Formula 1, but with Abu Dhabi and Singapore, places like that arriving. Is this still a business capital, or is this just a playground now?
Behind the scenes, so much business gets done here. I think every senior major CEO of all those big companies, they're here, and they all seem to wind up in each other's company. Don't forget, business is done here.
And this is your playground 12 months of the year. When everybody arrives, are you thinking, leave my harbour alone? It's nice and quiet for 11 months.
No, actually, there's a lot of action here in Monaco away from the Grand Prix. They have other sporting events and what have you, but there's nothing, of course, that takes over the town quite like the Formula 1 Grand Prix. So it's a special event. You get a mix from the locals. Some of them leave town for the week. Others just make the most of this incredible spectacle.
Well, I hope when they leave town, they rent out their apartment for incredible amounts of money. Now, it's actually amazing to think that all this is here, because just 6 days ago, the flag dropped a few miles away in Barcelona.
They get away perfectly off the front row. No stallers on the grid. It looks pretty even. Alonso's up the inside. He takes the lead for Ferrari. Fernando Alonso leads the race in front of his adoring fans. What a sensational stunt.
Vettel heading for the pits. He's obviously just losing too much time behind the Ferrari.
But what will Ferrari do now? And Alonso does pit. Hamilton will take over the lead of the Grand Prix. Vettel's been very fast in the middle sector of the lap. This is going to be so close. And he's got it. It's worked beautifully. Webber's through, down into turn 10. Last of the late breakers. Can he hang on to it? Because Alonso's got the track position into 11.
And Alonso's back through. Button making a move on Mark Webber. He's down the outside into turn 1. Can he make it stick?
Oh, they're going to touch.
What a great move from Jenson Button. And Mark Webber started on pole. He's now worked his way back to 5th place.
Look at that, straight past Alonso as well. So Jenson on fire on this lap.
And let's use the yellow button to try and help overtake.
Vettel's driving it like it's a qualifying lap. There'll be less grip on these hard tyres.
And Vettel has an answer for everything that Lewis Hamilton can throw in. 13 wins for Sebastian Vettel. Surely that was one of his hardest. The leader of the championship did not buckle under pressure.
Ring, ding, 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 ding. I think most of the criticisms now for Sebastian Vettel should be for that celebration. This is like the never-ending journey, isn't it? We will eventually get to our position, and trust me, the view will be well worth it. So we can criticise his celebrations, but can we still criticise his driving? Because before that race, people said Sebastian can't overtake, and he proved in that race that he could do just that, Eddie.
Well, I personally have still a little question mark over that statement, because of the 14 races that he's won, 12 of them he led into the first corner. So I still have to be convinced that he has that killer instinct in him to actually pass people.
Yeah, but he had to get past Button, he had to get past Massa, and he did exactly that.
Yeah, he pulled two amazing moves on that outlap. He knew, he was so aware of the situation that he had to get by those guys. I think it's a ridiculous statement to say that he can't race. It just so happens he spent most of his very short career running at the front. So, you know, who had the most pole positions? Was it Ayrton Senna? Could he not overtake? We know he was a great overtaker because, you know, there was periods of his career where he wasn't in such a competitive car.
Maybe it's a case of looking for things to criticise when it comes to Sebastian Vettel and not actually being able to find very many. Ian, just have a little look around and you can see where we've arrived now. And this is the kind of thing that goes on in Monaco. So if you recognise anybody and they told you they were having a work weekend away and you see them on the television, you know that's not the case. You can look over there as well, and perhaps that gives you an example of exactly where we are. Do you remember this? Well, that was right here 12 months ago. It was fantastic to see that celebration, and that was at the end of probably the greatest week of Mark Webber's career. He won in Spain, and he came here and he dominated in Monaco. We need a drive like that from him this weekend if he's going to have a shout in this title. Yeah,
he's all too aware of it. You know, as you say, he came off the back this time last year of two great performances, two world champion performances, and then unfortunately there was various other points where it looked like he was lacking that last little bit to really be able to deliver relative to Sebastian. So very, very important qualifying session this afternoon. OK, can Mark do it this weekend? Will there be a car other than a Red Bull on pole position for the first time this season? Keep on watching. We'll bring you that answer as soon as qualifying gets going, and it starts in just over half an hour's time. But there's plenty going on away from the racing, as ever, especially here in Monaco. Here's Ted with the latest news.
Heads have rolled at Ferrari after a poor start to the season that's yielded just one podium in 5 races so far. Aldo Costa has been replaced as technical director by Englishman Pat Fry, who was until last year at McLaren. Fernando Alonso, who's shown much better pace here this weekend in his special gold helmet, supports the change.
We need a reaction, we need something to make some direction change, and this was maybe the best thing, and hopefully in the future we can be more competitive.
Take a listen to this noise. The revving sound in the middle of a corner is the teams using the car's exhaust to blow through their rear diffuser and add downforce. The FIA think it's gone too far and will be restricting the amount the teams can keep the engine revving when the driver is off the throttle. There will not be a protest from the smaller teams this weekend, but McLaren believe the biggest losers from this will be Red Bull and Renault.
Some people were more agitated than others, and I think they had developed their engine and its reliability on a particular operating mode, and I think they fear if they had to change it they might lose that reliability. Don't know whether that's the case, but that's what I'm told, so I must believe it.
As for who's looking good for qualifying in the race, Jenson Button believes the gap to Red Bull will be much smaller today.
You'll still see the quick cars at the front, but there's a smaller difference, I think, in qualifying. So one little mistake from one of the Red Bull guys and you've pipped them. It's also a circuit that mechanical grip is very important. I think mechanically we're strong. I think compared to Red Bull, probably not as strong in the aerodynamic side of things, but mechanically we are pretty strong.
Mark Webber agrees and believes Monaco represents the chasing pack's best chance to break Sebastian Vettel's winning run.
Seb's one of the competitors, obviously Fernando, I think, and Lewis and JB have all won here. So all 4 of us have. Obviously Seb hasn't yet. It's one of the only ones he hasn't won, but...
you want to keep it that way?
Well, I think, all of us need to if we can.
Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton's just happy to be here.
I just love driving the car here. It's just the coolest thing. It's the most dangerous track in the world, and it's just exciting.
And finally, Lotus Cars, who sponsor the Renault team, have lost a court case they brought trying to stop the green and yellow Team Lotus and its owner Tony Fernandez using that famous Lotus name in Formula One. Lotus Cars say they'll appeal, but in the meantime, nothing changes on track. Team Lotus is still green and yellow, Renault black and gold.
And it's only right that Prince Albert gets the best view of everything happening here in Monaco. They call that Little Ben up on the hill there. That's the palace. And just underneath that, all of the fans, they've got their banners out and a big face there. Fernando Alonso's face will be staring at him as he comes around Rascasse. And then we're just here in the harbour with the people who decided that they didn't want to be on the hill. But I'll tell you now, the atmosphere up on that hill over race and qualifying is sensational here. Eddie, the Lotus story. I imagine it cost an awful lot of money for not a lot of end product.
Well, I'm really disappointed. This should have gone to arbitration. It wasted the court's time, in my view, very valuable time, and it wasted a lot of good money. I'm just really not happy about it.
And they love a row in Formula One. The latest thing we're talking about now is exhaust gases being blown through the diffuser when your foot is off the accelerator. We've already had it with the front wing. You had it in your day. Does this exasperate you a little bit?
Well, I get a little bit bored with it all because the FIA are there to police the rules and regulations. It's up to the Formula One designers to come up with cunning ways to interpret those regulations and exploit them. And, you know, that's what Formula One stands for. It's a proving ground for new technology. If it was just everything has to fit a certain criteria, there would be no creativity in Formula One. But there's one thing I just wanted to bring up. Martin Whitmarsh mentioned there that he was told it, therefore he has to believe it. Well, you know, you shouldn't believe everything you're told. I told you that was called Little Ben locally. That's not true. I just made it up.
Oh, very
but
nice.
You
very
believed
clever.
it. So Martin is being a little bit creative, I think, with his answer, just to deflect a little bit from the lack of performance at McLaren.
Thanks for using me as your example on live television.
You're welcome.
OK, well, let's move on, because very shortly the cars will be out on track. They'll be flying around the lap here, and there's nothing quite like seeing a Formula One car at full pelt around Monaco. 55 gear changes, 130 changes of the direction. Believe it or not, the steering wheel is centralised for 10 of the 75 seconds it takes to do a lap here. It's pretty busy in the cockpit of an F1 car around this track, as David Coulthard is about to very ably demonstrate.
Formula One teams are notoriously secretive when it comes to the simulators. Last time we were at McLaren, we weren't allowed access, but here at Red Bull, we have the magic pass. Well, here we are, inside the nerve sensor of the Red Bull simulator. Now, this is much more than just a glorified game. What makes this so special is the fact that it operates on some electric actuators here, which pumps in all of the little inputs that would have been recorded from actual track data and puts that up through the seat of the pants when the driver's in the simulator. So he can feel the bumps that are actually out on track, and that's the key difference.
With the lack of testing now, we have to use tools like the simulator to give ourselves the edge on other teams. We use it for if we want to test out a new mechanical part or a new aerodynamical part. We'll model the components, and then we'll put them into our simulator, get a driver on board, get the feedback, get the data.
Obviously, one of the key inputs for that data is the steering wheel. It feeds back the information that's displayed. Since I retired, there's a few extra knobs and buttons on here. A very obvious one that we can all see here, KERS. What I want to try and experience and explain to the audience is that driving Monaco is difficult enough. What we're going to do today is I'm going to drive Monaco for the first time using KERS, and for me using the DRS, the drag reduction system. Let's get in there. Here we are, driving out onto the Monaco track. Oh, I've got goosebumps.
Should we go for a start then?
We're now going to set ourselves up for a race start.
Okay, can we try, we can start, we're doing 3 burnouts.
1 burnout, 2 burnouts, 3 burnouts. Oh, it's a bit lively.
Bite point find.
Okay, we push the bite point find there. That sets the clutch position for the start.
Clutch 4.
And then I go to clutch 4, which is this switch here, okay.
Engine 2 and mix 5. Engine 2 and mix 5.
Engine 2 and mixture 5. Doing all that whilst positioning yourself at the front of the grid, looking out for the lights. It's a double clutch start. It's a standard start procedure. So one clutch will be fully depressed against the back of the steering wheel. Second clutch will be in a position that the driver's predetermined. You'll then bring up your RPM. You'll be watching the lights. That first one goes out, hold the second one, and then release the second clutch, and then down to the first corner. Hey, I think that wasn't too bad.
Back to engine 6 and mix 6.
And, oh, now that's where it gets difficult, because there I am. I've been given a call by the engineer to go back to engine 6, mix 6. Now, how do you do that? Well, avoiding hitting Armco barriers at 100 miles an hour. I've managed to do the engine, as we go down to Mirabel. Oh, I've pulled the clutch in rather than the gear. All right, and I've done my mixture as well. All of this while watching your mirrors, making sure that someone's not attacking you down the inside.
Use the KERS. Use the KERS.
Don't forget our KERS, of course. There I'm deploying KERS. Oh, I've made the mistake of leaving it latched on.
Use the brake pliers if you lock in the front. Use the brake pliers.
Right, so here we are at Rascar. This will be where the DRS activation point is. Here we are, out through the last corner, and this would be the point now where you would then push the blue flat button. It's either can be latched or the driver can hold it. You'll gain that extra 12 kilometers an hour, and then have to remember to get off the button again before braking down to turn 1. This is very interesting to me. This is a track I know intimately. I've lived in Monaco since '95, raced this track every year since then, and the concentration that's required clearly is too much for me. I'm going to go and swim in the harbour. I've just gone fishing. Help, I can't swim.
And thankfully, we've only got a very small monitor here, so not everybody up here got the chance to see David ending up in the harbour. When pilots don't fly for a long time, they describe it as skill fade. How did it feel jumping on that simulator 2 years after you actually raced around here?
It felt completely alien. There was so much to try and take in because, of course, it evolves so quickly. And the amount of adjustments that the drivers have to make is double the amount that I had when I was racing. So just way, way too much to take in such a short space of time.
And I was watching that from the back of the room. We edited out all the bits where you were wailing, I forgot to use the rear wing. I suppose it's difficult using things that just weren't there in your time.
Yeah, for the racers that are out there on track today, anything that will give them half a tenth of a second or even less, they'll know how to intimately use that around the racetrack. But for someone like me stepping back in, I'm trying to remember how do I start the car, never mind, where is DRS going to be deployed.
That was great. I really enjoyed watching you on that. David mentioned half a tenth there. I think Hispania Racing are looking for about half a minute in improvement on their car, and they're not going to get it by ending up having to rebuild it before qualifying. This shows that even the most experienced of drivers, Eddie, can struggle around here.
Well, look at the car. The thing that I'm perhaps disturbed about the car, look, it's porpoising. There's no real fluency there, and the car doesn't seem to be well balanced. What eventually happens is that the front gets the grip and the back steps out, which is a natural thing. Just look, back just doesn't have the grip because the front has taken all the grip, and off he goes. The car is just poorly balanced.
And Joe Bauer from the FIA was straight into the garage. We speculated whether he'd be asking questions about how the back of that car disintegrated, or was it just the angle at which Liuzzi hit the barrier there?
Well, he has the right to go in there and look at how it withstood the crash. There's 2 tethers attaching the rear wheels, or all of the wheels actually, to the car, so he'd be wanting to see whether that's done its job properly. The car has to pass certain load tests. The rear wing takes a pull test, the front wing takes an actual displacement test on either side, so it's passed all of those things before going out on track.
OK, so it was a bad start to the day for Vitantonio Liuzzi. It was actually a lucky escape today for Nico Rosberg. David, you watched this, and a huge intake of breath.
Yeah, he was a very lucky boy to miss the end of that barrier there, which is where Karl Wendlinger ended up in '94 in a very similar yet nasty accident. But look how close he was there, just missing the edge of the barrier. And it looks like when he's gone over the rise in braking to the chicane, he's lost the rear end. We've now know from a radio transmission to his engineers, look at that, he goes over the rise and immediately the car starts to rotate. I actually had a similar crash here in 2008 in qualifying. So when it does go there, it really surprises you. But what I was going to say is the engineer had radioed Michael Schumacher to tell him it was low tyre pressures that was the cause of that. So presumably the rear of the car must have touched the ground.
Right. Well, he was a passenger, David, wasn't he? You could see that the rear, the floor is actually touching the ground. And then when the floor touches the ground, the wheels aren't given the grip, nor indeed the steering effect that you need. And he is a complete passenger. We cannot underestimate how lucky he was. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. Had he hit that head on, I'd have hated to thought about what would have happened.
So the big question is, will both of those cars be ready to go out and qualify? Now, as much as we love the swimming pool and the sunshine, we're not up here because we like it. We're actually up here through necessity, because behind us over there is the pit lane and the start line. We just can't be down there because it's so tight here in Monaco. There's no space for all of us. But thankfully, Ted is down there, and he can give us the latest updates, both at Mercedes and at Hispania. Ted.
Yes, Jake, and let's start at Mercedes, shall we, where it looks 50-50 at the moment as to whether Nico Rosberg will make it out for qualifying. The mechanics are rebuilding his car, as you can see here. The first thing that they need to do is to make sure everything is pieced together safely, because, of course, this is the car that needs to do the whole of the race, the important thing on Sunday. So it's safety first here at Mercedes. If they finish it, and if they don't, they don't. They're going as fast as they can, and that's the thought from that side. Although it is worth remembering, of course, qualifying 1 is 20 minutes long, so they certainly won't make the start of qualifying qualifying one, but they might make it in time for a run at the end. As for what's happening down at Hispania, you can see by the comparative lack of activity down at the Hispania garage that they're not intending for Antonio Liuzzi to go out during qualifying. So he would have been towards the back of the grid anyway, so it looks like they're actually not going to bother, and they'll just concentrate on getting that car fixed for the race. But Jake, just to underline how tight it is down in the pit lane, we had an incident here in the Renault box at the end of free practice 3 when Vitaly Petrov came in and hit one of his mechanics who was bending down to receive him. He hit him with the front wing end plate. As you can see, it's all quite sharp in there. So that mechanic is basically okay. He's got a slightly nasty flesh wound to the knee, but he won't be taking any part in the rest of the weekend. He'll be resting in his hotel.
OK, thank you, Ted. He must be injured then, because they're hardy souls, these mechanics. We saw last year a guy virtually catching a tyre in the pit lane and he still carried on working. But as 2 out of the 3 of us have nearly been run over in a pit lane already, it's probably wise we're not down there. The 107% rule, just explain what that is and how you think that will affect Antonio Liuzzi if he doesn't go out today.
Well, the times of the pole position is taken and everyone must qualify within 107% of that time. There are some considerations that the stewards may look at, and particularly in the case of Rosberg, even if he doesn't go out in the qualifying, they will see what was the times that he did in previous practice sessions. I think he has no danger here. He will have to go to stewards, but I think sense will prevail and he will race.
OK, right, well, let's go back down to the pit lane now, because Martin Whitmarsh, the team principal of McLaren, is down there, but actually he's not ready for us yet, but we'll try and speak to him very shortly. Right now, let's talk about tyres. There's been a lot of talk about tyres for the past few races, and today even more than usual, because we have a new tyre at this Grand Prix. It's the super soft tyre, and the teams have got to get all the data out of it so they can then work out their strategy for the race, and we've had a sneak preview of what they've been doing.
OK, boys, if we can make a start. Obviously, it's Thursday in Monaco. Track will be very, very dirty and dusty to start with, so please stress to the drivers, no mistakes early on. The other thing here on tyres is we've got the soft and super soft. For us, it's the first time running with the super soft. Obviously, getting the long runs that we're looking to do will be very important because we've got no knowledge of that tyre. So, Gianluca?
Yeah, so we start the usual installation lap. After that, we plan to do 3 runs, relatively long.
Monaco is actually very soft on tyres. It's very low wear, which is why we run the soft and super soft. But obviously this year with Pirellis, with the much higher degradation numbers we've had, it was a concern that we'd get much higher degradation than normal.
We put the super soft tyres for a performance run. At the moment I'm planning 3 time laps. Finally, hopefully we can do also long run. High fuel kind of a race simulation to see tire degradation, how many laps we can actually try to do during the race on this compound.
We're ready and waiting for your call, Gianluca. The softs look pretty good, probably better than we expected. Super soft was much more of an unknown.
We expect obviously that these tyres may drop off.
We were very pleasantly surprised by the performance of the tyre. It had about a 1.2 second time advantage over the soft. We went out to do 3 timed laps for the performance run, but in fact Heikki came back and said that the tyre was holding on, and we did 6 or 7 laps on that run.
Good session, thank you.
They didn't perform on the first lap as well as perhaps Pirelli was suggesting, but then in the longer run they performed much better than anticipated, so they were more durable than expected, so that means it's good for the race, but we're going to work to get them working on qualifying.
The tyre was performing better than expected, so instead of 3 time laps we did more with some slower laps in between. And finally we did the long run, high fuel race simulation. Again, quite some positive surprises from the super soft. They seem to be holding on quite well.
And durability is not too bad, so we have to make up our mind now. Collecting the data, analyzing the data today and tomorrow. We'll probably figure out better what kind of strategy we're going to have.
Jarno reported difficult bit in the beginning, then the tires start coming in, but also you could really feel the big degradation at the end, especially in traction and braking stability.
But they had quite a lot of laps on, more than we expected by that point.
Yes, also we can get something very interesting for strategy.
I think certainly on the soft tyre we've seen that easily going 25 laps and probably a bit longer. and the soft tyre looked to last at least 20 laps. So I think that makes our strategy calls reasonably comfortable. You know, the sort of horror stories of 3 or 4 stop Monaco race certainly won't be the case. 2 stops, I think, probably for everyone, and there may well be some people that try to get away with 1 stop.
Very interesting. We'll talk about tyres in a moment. It's all work and no play here in Monaco. I'm not talking about those girls. I'm talking about the drivers. It's a very busy weekend for them, and we're delighted to say that Jarno Trulli's able to join us just before qualifying gets going down in the pit lane at the moment. It was a difficult one last time out for you, Jarno, in the race, but you must have been really buoyed to see a Team Lotus car sitting 15th on the grid. What are you expecting today?
Well, I don't have a clear idea so far, because this morning, unfortunately, I was struggling with the grip. Strange, because on Thursday the car was feeling very well, so we need to find out what was going on. So if everything goes right, we should be fighting for going in through Q2, but this morning I wasn't very happy.
Jarno, it's Eddie here. Let's reflect a moment. Your pole position here, your win here, what was it like?
It's past now. I have to think ahead. I have to think about today. But obviously Monaco is very important to be in pole. No matter what, no matter strategies, tires, like today is as important as it was before. And to be on pole, obviously you need to get the best out of you and best out of the car, which is not easy around the Monaco streets.
7 years ago that was, Jarno. Does it feel like yesterday when you were flying around here?
Well, yes, there was. Friday. You're talking about Thursday?
I'm talking about when you won here in 2004.
Right. Well, that time I had a very good feeling with the car. I was confident, and I was able really to push all the way through, all weekend. So I dominated the weekend with the pole position, with all race leading. So that was a great weekend.
Jarno, it's David. Just to check on that 7 years have passed. You're in a new team here. How does it affect your motivation when you know you're going out in a car where it's a question of whether you get through to Q2 or find yourself going out at the first one? Do you think you're still as good today as you were then, or is it just, it's impossible to hold on to that as you age?
No, it's not the age, to be honest. It's more actually the satisfaction that you can get out of yourself when you're driving the car. And obviously this year I'm struggling quite a lot with the power steering issue, so I cannot really express myself. But I'm still enjoying driving, but obviously I would like to give more than what I'm doing so far. So I'm waiting to solve the power steering issue in order to have a bit more fun.
Can you just explain a little bit more, what is that issue and why does that affect your driving style?
Well, basically we have a fundamental issue on the power steering, which is not giving any feedback straight to me. So I'm trying to hide this problem using a different steering arm compared to Heike, which seems not being affected, but we actually see from the data that the issue is there and is affecting a lot my driving style, because I'm really precise, I'm really sensible on the steering wheel, and obviously I don't feel confident on that.
OK, Jarno, well, I'm sure you've got one eye under those sunglasses anyway on what's happening down at Mercedes, because with no Hispania and no Mercedes possibly taking part in the first part of qualifying, big opportunity for you today. Good luck, enjoy it.
Much.
All right, thanks a lot, Jarno, thank you. So Jarno Trulli looking once again for that elusive win in Formula One. Wouldn't he love to win again before he retires? And the same applies to Felipe Massa. Felipe hasn't picked up a win in Formula One since 2008. Of course, that was when he was pushing that man, Lewis Hamilton, all the way for the title, wasn't it? Felipe Massa, though, he's quite at home around these streets.
Actually, I'm very lucky because I have 2 home Grand Prix here. I live 5 minutes away and in São Paulo. So it's really a great feeling, to go away from your house and you're working and you come back to your house after. I mean, it's great.
And Felipe Massa's dreadful weekend continues. He hasn't looked comfortable in that Ferrari since he set sail on Friday morning around this track.
Sometimes maybe over the last year or so, it's almost been so close for you, so many things have happened. How would you sum it up?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is to do the best the car can do, Like in Turkey, I was doing a great race, in the beginning, but then we had some problems in the pit stop.
The right rear is not going on.
No, because the wheels are spinning.
Like in the last race when we put the hard tires, this is something that is frustrating at the end of the race.
Where do you think the car is lacking?
Well, I think downforce. If you see, in the last race we were, I mean, not the quickest car, but I mean, we could fight on the soft tires, you know. But then we put the hard tires, it was, you know, very difficult to drive the car. I mean, when you put the very hard tires, you need even more the downforce, you know, to make work, you know, the tires. And that's the direction we're working.
Perez fancying a look. There's a young man that's expected to take Felipe Massa's seat one of these days.
You always hear these stories of you could go to Red Bull, Mark could come here. Does it get frustrating for you as a driver to almost have to justify yourself?
It's not really a big, it's not a drama for me, you know, because every time I'm here already, this is my 6th championship as official driver, you know. I remember the first year, Valentino Rossi was coming to my place, and then the second year, maybe Vettel, and then Fernando, for 3 years Fernando, and Robert, Kubica. So every year somebody's coming to my place. So anyway, I really don't care for what the people is saying, you know, is trying to make it happen, you know. So it's important to concentrate on your job and know that the people you are working with, they believe in you.
Everywhere you go, there are plenty of Ferrari fans, and there they all are on the boat gearing up for this weekend. Let's talk about Felipe Massa, because it looked like he turned a corner when we were racing in China. Then he went to Turkey, where he's dominated in the past and struggled. He wasn't great in Spain. What's going on?
Well, I'm confused, and most people are confused, because China was a very good race for him. But, you know, we haven't seen enough evidence since that crash he had in Hungary. Just give me the feeling that he can take on Alonso. Alonso is world champion, make no mistake, and that was always going to be difficult in the first place.
Lost his motivation? Would he rather be on the yachts rather than out on the track?
No, absolutely not. He's fully motivated. But sometimes you're just fighting that last little tenth, and once you realise it's not there, you try even harder and you lose even more time. And I think it's a really tall order for him to be in front of Alonso, quite frankly, but he should be closer than that.
Another example of how difficult it is to share a team with Fernando Alonso. We can actually have a look at the guys working away inside the Ferrari garage. Aldo Costa, the technical director, has paid for the poor start to the year with his job. A poor start to last year cost them the title. Are there deeper problems here?
Well, there's clearly a lot of technical directors going to be on the market at the end of the year, with Sam Michael leaving Williams as well. I think that you know, the captain of the ship always has to take responsibility, but you need to rely on all of the people that are responsible for the aero, for the mechanical installation, gearboxes. You know, it's never just down to one man. But clearly they feel they need to make changes, and you know, they've done that very early in the season, and Pat Fry has moved into that position.
It's a good point, actually. Lots of people losing their jobs this year. It's a ruthless old business, Formula One. I suppose when you own the team, you don't have to worry about getting fired from the team. But it was 2001 when Ferrari last won here. 10 years since Ferrari won in Monaco.
You know, and this is really the home. If you were to look at the people who live here, there are a lot of Ferraris sold here, and as a result, it's a huge market for them. The results they've had here is appalling. It's poor, and they haven't looked strong enough. They do have a chance nevertheless this weekend. Don't write them off, because I think Alonso will be very strong in this qualifying.
Sure, Fernando Alonso topping the free practice times this morning. Well, let's go down to the pit lane live then and talk to a man who's keen to beat both Red Bull and beat Ferrari as well, Martin Whitmarsh. Martin, there was a great quote from Lewis this week. He said, "I'm the only man who can beat Sebastian Vettel in a slower car." That sounds like an incredibly driven driver to me.
Well, I don't think we've got any doubt there. I think Lewis and fairness, so are Jensen. They both want to beat Sebastian at the moment. I think in, you know, where we've just come from in Spain, I think they had great races, but we need to qualify better, and there's no better place to qualify well than here. You know, it's so difficult to overtake. It's so challenging, but actually before you can qualify well, you've got to get through Q1, and that's a scary prospect. You know, we've got at least 6 mobile chicanes out there. You know, these are cars that are 6 or 7 seconds a lap slower, so it's very, very difficult to find the open space within the traffic to be able to get through comfortably. So that's a scary prospect.
Martin, Eddie, I want to know, do you have any idea what's given Red Bull the advantage in that qualifying few laps?
We've got a few ideas, of course, but we don't categorically know. I wish I did, but I keep asking Adrian to let me know, but he hasn't quite offered all the information yet.
Martin, it's David. I'm sure your other photo members will love the fact you refer to them as mobile chicanes, but you know, there was some talk a few years ago of the larger teams helping these smaller teams in some ways. Surely you've got a few leftover bits from all the developments you've done this year. You could sell them on cheap to some of those mobile chicanes.
Well, I'm sure they'd, I mean, in fairness, the drivers are doing the best job they can and so are the teams, but nonetheless, it's a real challenge for us that you put a driver out there, you know, you want to do 2 or 3 laps. Well, 2 or 3 laps and there's 6 or 7 seconds, and you're looking at a 20-second gap. Well, you just can't get 20 seconds on this circuit. So it's frightening. It's difficult for them. You know, they've got to look in their rearview mirrors, serve weed, because you're trying to back up, trying to make space. So it's a real challenge, and, you know, I hope we can get through Q1. But at the moment, you know, that's really a real challenge for all of the fast cars to be able to get through unimpeded, get through to Q2, gets a little bit easier, less cars, slightly quicker cars, and hopefully do a good job in Q1.
OK, thank you very much, Martin. Whether there's 23 or 22 cars taking part of qualifying, it's not going to be easy in Q1, so good luck, and you better get to the pit wall. There's about 5 or 6 minutes now until the start of this qualifying session. David, I suppose that means you better go. You've got to be in the commentary box as well.
But it's a very short walk here, thankfully, so the
so you can stop for a drink on the way then?
No, I'm hot-footed straight there to do some last-minute research, but
OK.
Enjoy.
So impressed.
I know, he's always working. Thanks a lot, David.
He's such a workaholic.
And let's just have a quick look at Lewis Hamilton. He's making his way into the pit lane there with his brother Nick, who of course races as well. Now, Lewis has won this race before. He won it in the wet, and if there's one driver who just loves to be driving between the barriers, making sure that his precision is inch perfect, then that is the boy. And there's Nicole, who was performing here last night, and according to David Coulthard, sang extremely well indeed, and apparently he's a bit of a connoisseur when it comes to music as well. So good luck to Lewis this weekend. Nicole's done her work. Lewis is about to start his work. Now, the drivers, they come here from all parts of the world. They don't just come for a race, though. Most of them actually live here. But what you really need is someone who's been here since '95, someone who's won here on a couple of occasions to help a rookie unlock the secrets of this circuit.
I need a dollar, that's what I need.
I used to get nervous about coming to Monaco in January before I'd even driven the new car. Have you given it any thought at all?
No, I'm nervous. I know what it's like driving up towards Casino. How brave can you be on the entry? And the entry is the key, so...
Well, we haven't even made it to turn 1, and we've already had an incident. Look at that, we've got a van burned out. That's right on the racing line, isn't it? You know, that is going to have done a bit of damage.
Aye, that's right on the apex, DC. Yeah, I know.
Hopefully that'll be the only fire we see in Monaco this weekend. Here we have what's going to be one of the most iconic bits of racetrack anywhere in the world. This is the entry to Casino Square. Now, Casino Square is actually about another 150 metres on a constant radius way round the back of the Hotel de Paris. But this is where the tricky bit really starts, because you're arriving here at about 175 miles an hour, and you can't actually see your braking point, can you?
No. We all saw how crucial this was last year to Fernando's race. He had an accident here in FP3 on the Saturday morning, lost his qualifying session. So, you know, you need to build yourself up slowly and make sure your last lap in qualifying is the one that you attack here the hardest.
Casino Square, the most recognisable image of any Grand Prix track, I'm sure. How important, if at all, is the history of Monaco? It's the 69th Grand Prix here. Does it matter, or is it just another race for you?
No, it's not got to matter in a sense that the preparation is the same. But, you know, this is where it happens. This is the most famous complex on a Formula 1 calendar. You know, you think of the stars that went through this place year by year, day by day.
Well, I need a dollar.
I'm now feeling good because this section to Mirabeau is downhill, so I think I can hold my own on the walk-off with Paul. In fact, I might break out into a run. There's a nice manhole cover there for you to avoid. The key thing is an early turn then. If you're too far away from it, you've just lost a chunk of time. The key here is absolutely getting your tyre up against the arm coat.
Yeah, you have to, and I think, you know, it's one of these corners you've got to make sure you get in. If you get stuck out there, you know, you've got a tyre wall on the exit that compromises it.
Famously, this is where Ayrton Senna crashed his McLaren when he had, I don't know, half a lap's lead. His apartment was just there, so he got out of the car and they didn't see him for a couple of days. Only Singapore is another track where you have an underpass which only goes under a grandstand. But here in Monaco, you've got a full-on tunnel. About 100 yards from the exit of the tunnel, we're approaching the braking point for the chicane, and the sort of angle that you'll be at is down here. You cannot see the chicane at all.
No, you know, you definitely can't see the apex. You aren't going to see that until about the 100-metre board, and you're going to be well and truly on the brakes by then and downshifting. So, you know, you need to make sure your initial response to that is correct.
This is the best overtaking position, surely, on the track.
Yeah, it's the widest point.
it's probably the most straightforward. But after a blind entry, there's always a bit of risk.
So we've come on a Rascas. Traditionally, you see everyone struggling for traction out of that turn. We can see very carefully perched on the top of the Armco there, the red and white cone, which actually tells you where the apex is, because it really falls away this corner.
Yeah, and the other thing is how narrow it is and then how wide it becomes when you come out. You know, you are aiming for the pit wall.
Now, the thing that I think is remarkable about this is the fact that that is your start-finish straight, and there is nothing straight about it. It's going to be one of the twistiest sections on the track.
There is, and you can see where the last cars are going to start the Grand Prix by the lines, and they are definitely not going to be able to see the lights for the start of the race. All you can hope is track position is key.
You're not going to have to worry about not seeing the lights, are you?
I hope not.
We wish you luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
They say